Hello students, today we're going to talk about ratios. So when looking at your notes page, a ratio is a multiplicative comparison of two quantities. So in this space here, I want you to write multiplicative, spelled multiplicative, multiplicative. So a ratio is a multiplicative comparison of two quantities which describe the same attribute. They can be written in several ways. For example, there are 2 dogs to every 3 cats. The way in which we could write this ratio is 2 dogs, 2 cats using words. We could use our colon form. We have 2 dogs, so 2 would come first, colon, 3 for our 3 cats would come next. Or fraction form, 2 for our number of dogs, and 3 for our number of cats. 2 to 3, dogs to cats. In addition to the 3 ways that we can write ratios, ratios can also be written in simplest terms or just simplified. They can be simplified. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and practice writing our ratios. So looking at this bottom portion here, it says use the faces below to practice writing ratios. So for our first box, it asks us to compare the number of teeth to no teeth. So I'm going to go through and count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people with teeth. So 9 is going to be my first number. 9, 2, I'm going to go ahead and use words. 9 to the number of people with no teeth. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 people with no teeth. So this is 9 to 15. Now I need to ask myself, is this in simplest form, 9 to 15, or can I reduce that ratio even further? And the best way to do that is to go through and figure out if you can divide 9 or 15 by 2. Since they're both odd numbers, we're not able to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to erase 9 to 15. And I'm going to write it a little bit smaller. So 9 to 15. And since I can't reduce it by 2 because they're both odd numbers, I'm going to see if I can reduce by 3. Can I divide 9 by 3? Yes. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 15 divided by 3 would be 5. So the ratio would be 3 to 5. 3 people would have teeth compared to 5 people who would have no teeth if we were to simplify our original ratio of 9 to 15. Okay, now I'm going to go through and do eyebrows to total faces. Looking at my first row, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In my second row, I don't have any, so 5 so far. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people who have eyebrows. So that's 10, colon, to total faces. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 faces going across and 3 down, 8 times 3 would be 24. So that's 10 to 24. Now I can reduce that ratio by 2 because I know that 10 is even and so is 24. So half of 10 would be 5 and half of 24 would be 12. Now I want to ask myself if I can reduce that even further. 5 to 12. 5 is an odd number, 12 is an even number. They are both not divisible by 2 or 3, so I'm going to say that that ratio is in simplest form. Okay. Next, I'm going to skip a couple. I'm going to skip this one and this one just for time's sake, and I'm going to move on to closed eyes to tongues. Okay, I'm going to skip this one as well. So we're going to find the ratio of people with closed eyes to the people that are showing their tongues. So looking at my first row, I have one person with closed eyes. Second row, I have another person with closed eyes, so that's two so far. And then in my third row, I don't have any with closed eyes. So that would be two people to the people who are showing their tongue. So in my first row, I have one person showing their tongue. Second row, I have one, two people showing their tongue. And then in the third row, I have one person showing their tongue. So in total, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people showing their tongue. So this is a 2 to 4 ratio. I know that I can simplify that ratio by 2 because 2 is even and so is 4. So 2 divided by 2 would be 1, and 4 divided by 2 would be 2. This is a 1 to 2 ratio. For every one person with closed eyes, there are 4 people with their tongue sticking out. Okay, moving right along. It says, write the ratios below, then determine if the ratios are different. Justify your thinking. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write the ratio teeth to no teeth. We did that up here. That ratio is 3 to 5. 3 to 5. And then no teeth to teeth. So if 5 people had no teeth and 3 people had teeth, that was our ratio. Are those the same? Would my 3 to 5 be the same as 5 to 3? And in this case, it would be no, because order matters. Okay, 3 is not the same as 5, and 5 is not the same as 3. Okay, so those are two different numbers. Those ratios are different from each other. They're not the same. Because the order in which a ratio is written matters. Okay, so down here, when we're looking at this space here, it says the order in which a ratio is written is important to its meaning. So, looking at question number 1, it says in the lunchroom there were 100 milk cartons at lunch. When lunch was over, 80 cartons of milk had been purchased. What is the ratio of the number of milk cartons purchased to the total number of milk cartons? So, remember, my order is important. This question is asking the number of milk cartons purchased to the total number of milk cartons. So my first number is going to be the number of milk cartons purchased, which I know is 80. 80 cartons of milk had been purchased during lunch. So I'm going to write that number first, 80. And then I'm going to compare it to my total number of milk cartons, to my total, which was 100 milk cartons at lunch. 180 to 100. Now remember, I can write this as a fraction as well, and I can always simplify that. Okay, I can reduce immediately by 10, because both of these numbers end in 0. 80 and 100 end in 0, so I know they're multiples of 10. 80 divided by 10 is 8, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. I can reduce even further by 2, because these are both even numbers. Half of 8 is 4, and half of 10 is 5, and this would be my simplest form for my ratio. Okay, and then looking at question B, what is the ratio of the number of milk cartons remaining to the number of milk cartons purchased? Okay, so first I need to figure out the number of milk cartons remaining. If I had a total of 100, and I subtract the amount of milk cartons that were purchased, I would have 20 left. 10 minus 8 is 2, so that would be 20. So the number of milk cartons remaining would be 20. That's my first number. To the number of milk cartons purchased, which I know is 80. So my ratio is 20 to 80. 20 over 80. I can reduce immediately by 10 because those are both multiples of 10, giving me 2 over 8. Now I'm going to take my 2 over 8 down here and I'm going to reduce it even further by 2 over 2 because those are both even numbers. 2 divided by 2 is 1 and 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. So my ratio would be 1/4. Remember, with ratios, order matters. You're literally reading the question and just writing the numbers in order in which they appear in your word problem. If you have any further questions, please feel free to raise your hand. I'm happy to assist with any questions that you may have.